On TV, on radio, and on your smartphone. This is Talk TV.
I'm Piers Morgan, Uncensored tonight. Should fat people get free seats on aeroplanes? Should teachers at girls' schools apologise for saying good afternoon, girls, to the girls? Or have we perhaps reached the peak of woke insanity in the age of massive self-entitlement? We'll debate that. Also tonight, released from a Romanian jail, but still under house arrest. What next for the world's most controversial man right now, Andrew Tate? His lawyer joins me live. Plus, Bill Maher is one of the funniest and most acerbic commentators in the United States. He joins me exclusively to talk Trump, Biden, cancel culture, and the royals.
Live from the News Building in London, this is Piers Morgan, Uncensored.
Well, good evening from London. Welcome to Piers Morgan, Uncensored. Welcome to our lovely new studio here at the News UK mothership in London Bridge. We've left Ealing in West London. No tears, no flowers. And we're here, where it all happens. So, what have I missed? I've been in Los Angeles trying to lie under palm trees with Stormy Daniels. What I missed was this. The age of entitlement was a period of history when the world's biggest brains began to reject superstition for logic and reason. We've now reached the age of entitlement, in which the world's biggest brains defy logic and behave very unreasonably. Take my children at a prestigious girls' school, part of the Independent Girls' Day School Trust, who staged a placard-waving protest against a teacher who said, "Good afternoon, girls." That teacher was then forced to issue a grovelling apology, according to an interview she gave to the Mail on Sunday at the weekend, apparently under threat of disciplinary action, because the girls, who remember are attending a girls' school, objected to being called girls. Well, I guess some of them may want to become boys, in which case they should maybe be at a boys' school. They felt entitled to undermine the authority of the teachers in the school to pursue their own social causes. And take this plus-sized influencer.
No one should have to endure the discomfort, embarrassment, and discrimination that often comes with being a plus-size passenger trying to navigate air travel. By signing this petition, you can help us demand that airlines take concrete steps to make air travel more inclusive and accommodating for all passengers. Whether you're plus-size or not, everybody deserves to be treated with dignity and respect when they fly. Let's work together to make sure that the travel industry serves everyone, not just a select few.
Well, Jaylene Cheney made global headlines this weekend after claiming fat people are entitled to extra seats on planes because they're so fat. She said all plus-sized passengers should be provided with an extra free seat or even 2 or 3 seats depending on their size to accommodate their needs and ensure their comfort during the flight. Well, look, Jaylene, you can have your extra seat, you can have 10 extra seats, but you've got to pay for them. Why should you be entitled to special treatment, raising the cost of travel for everybody else because you're obese? Maximum self-entitlement, zero self-accountability.
So you've invited me to speak here, and I'm being heckled nonstop. And I'm just asking for an administrator to sign the
That's an administrator. Your racism is showing. Wait, respect black women. If you want a marketplace of ideas, you have gotten what you wanted, take it.
Those are students at Stanford University, one of the top universities in the world, where students are so high on the fumes of their own self-importance, they felt entitled to heckle a visiting judge because they didn't like his politics. The scourge of limitless entitlement takes us down avenues of limitless insanity. It means we have honest jobs we can't fill, but a generation of wastrels who want to be paid for posting photographs of their lunch. It leads to the ludicrous race-baiting idea that every white person should pay compensation to every black person because of the evils of history. It means we give out medals to kids who come last just because they tried. And the parents of those children then demand that they're awarded better grades, literally just because they're paid to be there. Unfortunately, in the cost of living crisis, there's a surfeit of these people who think the world owes them a favour. But fortunately, the rest of us are also entitled to call them out for it. Well, joining me now is the Associate Editor of the Daily Mirror, Kevin Maguire, and Talk TV contributor Esther Crackwood. I'm not sure, but I think I might have started that in my jet-lagged haze, Kevin, with a slightly wrong analogy. I think I said the age of entitlement twice. Of course, I was meant to say the age of enlightenment has now become the age of entitlement. How's it got like this?
Yeah, I'm not sure it entirely has, though, Piers. I think we make progress because one generation challenges the one ahead of them. That's how it is. Now, they don't always get it right, but I'm with those girls in that school. They challenged the teacher. She lost the classroom. They wanted the teacher to address them in
They're
a
at a
different
girls'
way.
school, Kevin.
But one of them wasn't identified.
Literally, their parents have said, we want to send our little girl to a girls' school, which is called a girls' school.
Yeah,
and then when a teacher has the audacity to call them girls, they go nuts. And the teacher then eventually has to leave.
Piers, they challenged the teacher. The teacher stands on her authority and says, no, I'm doing it my way. If that teacher had spoken to them, had a dialogue, understood it. Look, one of them wasn't identifying as a girl. I just don't see what the big problem is. I genuinely do not see what the problem is.
If you don't, here's what the problem is. If you don't identify as a girl, don't go to a bloody girls' school. Esther, have I got nuts?
Well, what if one of them identified as a tree? Would you say hello, I don't know, flora and fauna?
Well, before I went away, I identified as
I went to a girls' school.
I identified as a black lesbian, as you know, Esther, and your cackle went around the world.
Don't set her off again.
But this is the problem. If anyone can identify as anything they like, then this insanity just goes everywhere.
Oh, of course. But I think the bigger message that's being sent out here is that the children are ruling the classrooms, which should never be the case. And there's no point of them going to school, because part of going to school is learning discipline and respect for authority. How can you possibly bully a teacher into apologising for calling you a girl?
I'm a great believer in good discipline in schools, but that does not mean...
No, you're not. You're a great believer in... No. You're a great believer in a teacher calling girls girls, and then you think they have the right to launch some kind of protest.
It's how you set the rules and how you then govern that school.
Kevin,
I think
Kevin, I've known you a long time. You don't believe this.
I do.
No, you don't.
I do.
You don't think a bunch of girls in a girls' school should have the right to drive a teacher out for calling them girls?
No, I'm sorry the teacher is gone, but I don't believe the teachers handled it as well as they
She said, good afternoon, girls.
And if it's then challenged and the kids are explaining why they think they shouldn't be addressed that way...
The school is literally called School for Girls.
I do not see what the problem is. This is not the same as putting a biological man who is a rapist in only a way a man can in a Scottish prison. It's not that case. And what happens
Sorry, you're getting the clip. I can't do any more of that one. This is just driving me too mad. Can we at least agree about free seats for fat flyers, Esther? The idea that the more obese you get, the fatter you become, the more free seats you're entitled to on a plane. It's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, the lady in the video who was saying it, she was probably the size of the plane that she wanted to fly. Look, the reality is, we've always seen, debates online about whether, if you need a seatbelt extension, you should really buy 2 seats because you're spilling over into the other person's seat. And airplanes are designed to basically tin you like sardines, right? So the idea that someone else should pay for the fact that she's obese is quite frankly ludicrous.
Well, the only thing more annoying than influencers are the Just Stop Oil protesters. So tonight, one of them has jumped on a snooker table during a live match between Robert Milkins and Joe Perry and emptied a bag of orange powder. Here we go. Yeah. That's really, really, really going to make me want to do more about saving the planet. Actually, what it wants me to do, makes me want to remove the planet of certain people, led by that complete and utter imbecile who's just wrecked everybody's enjoyment at a snooker match. I mean, Kevin, what possible purpose does this have, other than annoying everybody?
I'm not sure it does. Look, my heart might be with the Just Stop Oil protesters, but I think my head says that will be counterproductive.
Of course
and
it will.
That will not help. Now, again, I believe in protest. I believe in people's right to protest, but you have to face the consequences of that.
Why do people like this get away with such delinquency, but the rest of us have to follow the rules? What if we all started doing that? What if we all started being public nuisances for causes that we're passionate about?
I want everybody to be an Arsenal fan, especially at this rather tense moment of the season. And if you're not, I'm going to come round your house, jump on your snooker table and spray it with orange paint. Because I want something.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it boils down to.
No, and it's illegal.
This is what I talk about, the age of entitlement. They pretend they want to save the planet. actually they want to make a name for themselves doing this kind of thing. As we saw at the Grand National at the weekend with all the protesters there. They just want to ruin everybody's fun.
Well, yeah, of course. And they're peddling particular narratives that no one else is buying because they don't make sense, right? You don't get to do this and start bullying the public because we don't agree with your tactics.
Look, I had a bet on the National. I love horse racing, but those protesters also have a point about the safety of that race when 3 horses died this year, 4 died last year.
That's actually a very good statistic.
One of the horses died, I think, on the first fence, which suggests that it could have been the turmoil and the late start that may have caused that horse, for example.
Yeah, the trainer said that.
Right. So maybe these goons at the Grand National actually facilitated the death of one of those horses.
That is possible.
That could be true, right?
Yeah, that cannot be ruled out. No, you're absolutely right. And then, again, that can be counterproductive. Look, if you're going to protest, you want to win the audience. I'm not
sure they do. But this is the thing. We keep talking about how they're trying to win people over, and this is not the way to do it. Don't glue yourself to the M25, for example. I don't think they want to win people over. I think it's to stroke their own egos.
I totally agree. I think they're a bunch of spoiled, entitled little brats who want to get in the papers and get on TV. And sadly, we occasionally have to give them what they want because these are genuine news events. They're wrecking the Grand National, they're wrecking the snooker, and they go home and they think, oh, what a great day we've had. All we've done is ruin the fun.
Yeah, but come on, can we acknowledge though that we are as people, we're heating up the planet. That's creating destruction. That will result in people dying. Sure. So yeah, I'm against putting orange powder and disrupting a snooker match, but let's not lose sight that people are dying.
All right. The easiest way to get people to ignore that is
before we finish, I want to bring in someone who I think is causing the death of the planet slowly, Prince Harry. So Camilla Parker Bowles, gone to a well-sourced piece in the Sunday Times, is apparently very hurt by all the stuff that Harry wrote about her in the book, saying that she was dangerous, had to rehabilitate her image, blah, blah, blah. Wicked stepmother. I don't blame Camilla. Do you, Esther? I mean, I just think...
Of course.
And for this guy to have the brass neck to now roll up at the coronation of the head of an institution he's just spent the last 2-3 years absolutely burying, calling a bunch of callous racists, I think is outrageous. And for poor Camilla, who's also going to be crowned, of course, along with Charles, for her to have to see him coming in after calling her the wicked, dangerous stepmother.
I mean, yeah, for all of Harry's whinging about, the invasions of privacy and how he was painted as a villain.
I never want to hear him talk about privacy again.
Ever.
No, I mean, literally, as long as he lives,
Yep.
I never want to hear the word privacy come out of his entitled, talk about entitlement, entitled, hypocritical gob, ever. Kevin, am I wrong?
But Camilla has been villainized for decades. So she's used to this. But I mean,
Camilla is the very best of rules. You know why? Never explain, never complain, suck it up, do your duty.
Hang on.
And that's why people now like Camilla. And when you are a hypocritical rat bag, the public soon go off you, as he's now finding out in the polls.
But let's not lose sight that his dad, Harry's dad, was cheating with Camilla.
Yeah.
And Harry's mother was cheating with someone else as well.
But that came later on.
But that doesn't make it right.
So you can see from his point of view.
Yeah.
The stepmother
he's
did play a part in the breakup.
I know.
He's nearly 40 years old.
Enough of that.
She has to also acknowledge
all right.
He's hurt and he's pained.
You know what? I don't care how hurt he is. I'm bored with him. I'm sick of the pair of them. Stay in California. Do your stuff, take the titles away, and don't turn up at the royal events just to keep your little royal fleecing going. That's all it's about. Total hypocrisy. Thank you, Pat. Great to be back. We got through a lot of stuff there. Well, Uncensored next tonight, Andrew Tate's lawyer live on what is going on.
leading Britain's conversation. Oh, no. With the People's Channel. No, what did he use? Every Little Helps. For God's sake, is nothing original anymore. It's finger-licking good. I'm loving it. Look, let's be honest. We don't have any fancy speechwriters here, but we do, and I promise you, discuss the issues that matter to you. Yes, I'm back. Talk TV, not with Morgan, just before him. Monday to Thursday at 7 p.m. Join me. Just do it. Well, that one too.
Passionate and always straight to the point. World-class broadcaster Vanessa Feltz is on Talk TV every night of the week. From politics to pop culture, there's no subject she shies away from. And remember,
if you're thinking about it, we're talking about it.
Join Vanessa Feltz on Talk TV every day from 4 p.m. He's back, and he's uncensored. Debating the breaking news and talking to the biggest names. Piers Morgan is live every week with a host of stars. Uncompromising, unmissable, and uncensored. And remember,
if you're thinking it, we're talking about it.
Piers Morgan, Uncensored, Monday to Thursday at 8 p.m. on Talk TV.
Oh, I like this new fancy studio. Our director going crazy there with his little corridor action. I like it. Well, welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Same show, just a slightly jazzier little setup. Well, he's the most controversial man on the planet, present company accepted. Social media influencer Andrew Tate, the former professional kickboxer, and his brother have been locked up for 3 months in a Romanian jail over allegations of human trafficking and rape. They've not been charged, have now been released on house arrest. They remain under investigation. Arriving home early this month, this is what Andrew Tate had to say.
Well, I've been in one room since last year, so it's a little bit emotional. I want to give respect, firstly, to the judges who heard us today, because they were very attentive and they listened to us and they let us free. I truly believe that justice will be served in the end. There is 0% chance of me being found guilty of something I have not done.
Well, joining us now is Andrew Tate's lawyer, Tina Glandian. Tina, thank you very much indeed for joining us again on Piers Morgan Uncensored. Where are we with this case? Because it does seem very strange that there is still no sign of any charges or of them being released.
Hi, Piers. We're certainly a lot better off today than the last time I was on your show. As you recall, back then, the Tate brothers were still detained in a Romanian jail cell. Now they have been released on house arrest. So relative to that, you know, they're doing much better now, and we've taken a big step in the right direction. However, this month actually marks the 1 year since this investigation first began. And the fact that they're still on house arrest and the fact that their restraint and their liberty is still restrained and they're not free to move about the way anybody else would while this very prolonged investigation continues is obviously substantially troubling and frustrating to them. So even though a few weeks ago we took a big step in the right direction, we're still not all the way there, and we're looking forward to the day that the Romanian authorities decide that they won't be that they conclude the investigation and decide that they won't be seeking an indictment in this case.
What are the rules of the house arrest? I only asked because before I came on air, I noticed that Tristan Tate tweeted me several times about tonight's show, actually. Is that him? Are they allowed to tweet personally, the two brothers?
They are. The only real restrictions that they have, other than the fact that they're confined to their house, is that they can't communicate with either the two other women who also, like them, are on house arrest, who are being investigated alongside them in this matter, and any other witnesses who have been mentioned in the file. Beyond that, there are no other restrictions as far as communication with friends or family or having visitors, as well as social media activity.
There's obviously been an enormous amount of global coverage of this. And obviously they remain innocent until or if they're ever charged or proven guilty. How are they actually doing themselves? I mean, it's a weird condition to be living under house arrest.
It is. Again, it's relative to where they were a few weeks ago. They are doing much better, of course. However, the 3 months in jail certainly took a toll on them. And I know Andrew has told me he right now has a lot of trouble sleeping. He can't sleep for more than 2 hours a night. And, you know, it really took a toll. So they're struggling with the process and what they've been through, but they are now focused mostly on just regaining, they believe, a strong body is a strong mind. They're back to their training and fitness and health and focusing on those things and trusting their attorneys in the process to play out and for them to eventually clear their names.
The court of public opinion has been, depending on what you read, particularly on social media, but obviously they have this huge platform, each of them. It's either been brutally savage against them, prejudging everything and assuming their guilt, or it's been the complete opposite, that they are the victims of a shocking miscarriage of justice. Can they get any kind of fair trial, even if it was to come to that, given the enormous amount of coverage?
Well, we're certainly hoping it doesn't come to that, but yes, all of those things that you said really do jeopardize somebody in a case like this, always these high-profile cases. We believe oftentimes the defendant can't get a fair trial because there is such, unfortunately, a presumption of guilt in these types of cases. There is a lot of misinformation spread prior to the case actually being heard, and opinions are formed, and a lot of times, again, it's not based on the actual evidence. So I think it is very challenging to have a fair trial under circumstances such as the Tate brother case here. However, again, we are optimistic that the evidence is not going to support an indictment and that it won't come to that.
If it does go to trial, would it be a jury trial or just a judge?
A judge.
I think since we last spoke, in the last several weeks actually, 3 British women have come forward to say they were abused and sexually assaulted by Andrew Tate and are crowdfunding to sue him for compensation. They're all in their 20s or early 30s. They worked as webcam models for Andrew Tate, they say, in Luton from 2013 onwards, claim they were abused, poorly paid and threatened to stop them going to the police. What's your response to that?
Well, first, to be clear, there's no new lawsuit, and these are not new allegations. These are old allegations from 2014 and 2015 that I would seriously, I think there's questions about the timing and motivation as to why this is now being brought up. I certainly don't think it's a coincidence that, right after they've been released on house arrest, that this has now again come up. But just to be clear, what this case right now is, it's 3 anonymous women who have not come forward with their identities, are seeking crowd funding, and they're seeking, I think, £50,000 to begin with, and I believe they've raised at this point a little bit over £8,000. And this is so that they could sue Andrew Tate for compensation. So they're basically asking the public to fund their efforts to get money from Andrew Tate. And what's bizarre about this, aside from the fact that these same allegations were previously investigated by the UK authorities, who decided that there was no evidence and it was not sufficient to pursue charges against Andrew Tate, but putting that aside, what's strange to me as an attorney, certainly in my experience, cases of this type are often brought by attorneys on what we call a contingency fee basis, which means that the attorney, if they believe in the case, files the lawsuit, prosecutes it, and then from the monies that they recover for their client, they take a percentage of that. So to me, it's very strange that instead of pursuing the case like that, which would typically be done, they're asking the public for donations to fund this attempt for these anonymous women, again, to make money from Andrew Tate. And I think it's really important to remember cases like Eleanor Williams, which recently I know got a lot of attention, and I saw your interview with one of the men who Eleanor had falsely accused. And there are cases where women go to crazy and extreme lengths. I know in that case she had created fake social media profiles. She had sent herself, fake messages that were reported initially to be evidence. She went so far as to purchase a hammer and to self-inflict severe injuries to herself.
Look, just to jump into, we're running out of time, that was an outrageous case, and that she was a total fantasist and a very evil one at that. I think, look, to be fair to your clients, they are innocent until proven guilty. They've not been charged. This has been going on for a year. They've been held in prison for month after month after month. They're now effectively under sort of home prison. And you do think at some stage that out of fairness and justice, they are either going to be charged or released. And we'll see what happens. But I think next week you're expecting to get an update, right?
We will get an update next week, because they can only extend this house arrest for a total, combined with the 3 months that they already served, it's a total of 6 months in Romania. So if they seek an application, it will be made next week.
Well, hopefully we can talk to you again after that development. Tina Glandian, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Piers.
Well, Uncensored next tonight, superstar US comedian and TV host Bill Maher, one of my favourite hosts on American TV, sat down with me to talk Biden, Trump, cancel culture, wokery, and yes, the royals.
Britain's conversation. Oh no. With the People's Channel. No, what do you use? Every little helps. For God's sake, is nothing original anymore. It's finger licking good. I'm loving it. Look, let's be honest. We don't have any fancy speechwriters here, but we do, and I promise you, discuss the issues that matter to you. Yes, I'm back. Talk TV, not with Morgan, just before him. Monday to Thursday at 7 p.m. Join me. Just do it. Well, that one too.
Passionate and always straight to the point, world-class broadcaster Vanessa Feltz is on Talk TV every night of the week. From politics to pop culture, there's no subject she shies away from. And remember,
if you're thinking about it, we're talking about it.
Join Vanessa Feltz on Talk TV every day from 4 p.m. He's back, and he's uncensored. Debating the breaking news and talking to the biggest names. Piers Morgan is live every week with a host of stars. Uncompromising, unmissable, and uncensored. And remember,
if you're thinking it, we're talking about it.
Piers Morgan, Uncensored, Monday to Thursday at 8 p.m. on Talk TV. This is Talk TV.
Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored from our spanking new studios. Next tonight, Bill Maher is one of the most acerbic and popular commentators on US television. For 3 decades, he's eviscerated politicians on the left and the right with equal fervour. And like me, he's a ferocious defender of free speech. I first appeared on his HBO show, Real Time, on Friday night. And things got rather heated when I took on Democratic Congresswoman Tate Porter on women's rights. The clips went viral. And astonishingly, the very liberal LA crowd, well, they rather audibly sided with me.
I think that it should be up to sporting bodies to make the decisions about who and how should compete.
What has she said that's actually wrong?
I think that what she has done is try to turn this. We talked about people, using things to kind of get likes and get clicks.
That's not what she's doing.
It's not?
I've got no truck for right against personally, but all I've seen her do is stand up for women's rights to fairness and equality.
Well,
she actually competed against Leah Thomas, and it was obviously unfair. Leah Thomas won one of the races in the NCAA championships by 50 seconds against a bunch of biological females who simply couldn't keep up. That cannot be right. It cannot be fair.
That is something.
Bill, we've just come off your own show. How do you feel when you come off doing a show?
Well, we just came off.
Yeah.
There you go.
The audience is gone.
The question is, how did we come off? The audience is gone, and it's just us. It's so intimate, Piers. It's so funny. I don't sleep well on Friday night because I'm a perfectionist, and I'm always turning the show over in my mind all night long. It's a live. Well, actually, we were live for 20 years, I think. The last year, since the pandemic, we tape a little earlier. But we tape in time. We don't edit anything. So it's basically what happens, what happens. So it can go 99% perfectly, and I will obsess on the 1%.
I'm the same. I have an ongoing theory that the world has gone nuts. But what I can't work out is whether it's just because we're aware of more stuff, which is nuts, than we ever used to be. Or do you actually feel that it is going nuts?
Yes, absolutely, it is going nuts. I mean, we sort of touched on it in the show tonight when I was talking about norms and the attitude, I think, of the conservative people in this country about what disturbs them on the left. I would say it's the fringe of the left, but the problem with the left is that the people in the center who don't even believe what the fringe are believing don't stand up to them. They don't shout them down publicly, so it just becomes, it's very bad for Democrats, which I don't think is a good thing. I mostly vote for Democrats. I can't remember the last time I voted for a Republican. But the norms that Trump trounced on, that's a very valid point, one I've made a million times, and we all saw it in plain sight. I mean, norms of the law and democracy and answering subpoenas and respecting elections and not trying to have a coup in America. I mean, it went past norms. But their view is, okay, those are terrible norms, perhaps, to trample. But your norms have to do with, like, life itself.
Right. Biological sex.
Exactly.
I mean, we had that debate tonight. And it's kind of baffling to me that we are actually having to debate these things.
That is what they're saying. I've talked to these people all the time, but because I'm out in the country all the time, and they're like, we're not all crazy. We just don't feel comfortable. And I've said this before. I'll say it again. A lot of them say to me, what you don't get about us and Donald Trump is we don't like him either. We just see him as a bulwark against something that's even nuttier. Because as we know in America, people really don't vote for who they like. They vote for who they hate the least.
Right. And where are you with free speech now? Because it seems to me that as a comedian and a host, comedy has never been under more attack than it is now. I mean, literally physical attacks now on comedians on stage to try and suppress their right to tell jokes. What do you feel about that?
I think that's exactly. I never feel like I'm about to be attacked on stage. It could happen tomorrow. Right. But that's not something that there's been a few instances, the Dave Chappelle one, obviously the Will Smith. I mean, these are outliers. We're not really attacked. What we comedians are afraid of is not being attacked physically on stage. We're afraid of being attacked on Twitter.
Being cancelled.
Yes, I mean, I grew up in the age of the comedy club, and there's comedy clubs are still out there, by the way, but they were a place, as they say, to be bad, or a place, even if you weren't bad, if you had passed that point, to try out new material.
Have we lost the ability as a society to accept being offended?
Well, of course, and that's part of it. I mean, comedy has to find where the line is, you know. Oh, you crossed the line. Well, I'm the guy I'm the mind seeker. I'm out there with the bayonet, you know, digging into the ground to see where the mines are.
And who decides this line?
Once in a while, one's going to blow up in our face.
Right,
but
but who
give me
decides
some credit for being the guy out there with the bayonet?
And who decides the line?
Apparently teenagers, who decide everything in this country, because I feel like teenagers are the ones, or people with a teenage mentality, who are the ones who fill social media with condemnation because they were raised wrong, with a sense of entitlement, in a sense that anything that causes them the least amount of discomfort cannot be tolerated for even 1 second. So when they scream and cry, nobody says anything. That's my point about where are the people to push back?
Where are the adults?
I don't think most of the Democrats or most of the liberals in this country, old school liberals like me, are like this kind of stuff, but they don't shout it down. So if somebody does something that's a little bit outside the lines and there is a big complaint on social media, nobody stands up for them. And the problem is that nobody ever gets canceled for being too woke. So you can say the craziest thing, like men can have babies, and then nobody will, even though people are thinking, well, that's kind of nuts, nobody will say it. They'll just fall in line. Yeah, exactly. That's what I've always thought. Men can have babies. Sure. I saw a dude who was glowing yesterday. You know, I mean, and that's the problem.
And it's totally insane.
Cowardice.
Yes, it is. It's moral cowardice, isn't it? But
it's intellectual cowardice.
But it also comes from a place of reality, that fear, because they see people around them literally getting cancelled, getting shamed and abused and hounded out of jobs, and they think, I don't want it to happen to me.
I can't count the number of stories I've either covered on the show or just read about of professors at colleges, which are supposed to be the bastions of free speech, who said something that was just an opinion.
One guy,
that was
one
different.
professor in America, he gave a lecture for 25 years about the use of offensive language. And then some students complained about his use of offensive language in the lecture about offensive language. And he had to lose his job. And at that point, I just felt that was peak woke insanity. He literally was lecturing about offensive language and using offensive language to illustrate it.
They have no sense of nuance. They have no sense of context. They just know certain buzzwords or certain concepts are out of limits, off limits, and since social media is just a bunch of mean girls, it's not really about making the world better. It's not really very often about social justice. It's about, let's catch somebody at something. This is what's so obnoxious about that side of things, that just idea of, we're not really lifting people up. Liberalism is about lifting people up, not catching people.
And tolerating people.
It's not about white self-loathing.
Yes.
It's about, yes, we have a horrible history in this country. Let's make it right in the ways that make sense. It's not just about catching people at stuff.
Where is America politically now, do you think?
I think old school liberalism is the center. Certainly socially. You know, when I think about things like pot legalization, civil rights, gay marriage, that kind of stuff, I mean, something over 90%, I think, of white Americans want to live in a diverse neighborhood. This is a sea change from where the world was when I was born. Gay marriage failed, I think, 35 times in different states when it was on the ballot on a statewide level, and something like 4 years later, it was the law of the land. Marijuana, I never thought I would see the day where I wasn't panicked when I was in an airport because I had this much pot hidden in my underwear. And now I can smoke it freely on my podcast, which you did. Yes.
I know. I came out having had a great time, Bill.
So I think that really is kind of the center of the country. Old school liberalism, take a victory lap. you kind of won on a lot of things. But it's another funny pathology of liberals. They don't want to acknowledge progress because they somehow feel like if I acknowledge progress, well, then I'm not as authentic a progressive. It's right in your name. And that's what you're selling, progress.
Well, of course. On Donald Trump, all this legal mayhem that's flying at him, does it actually empower him? Does it have the opposite effect, perhaps, to what the Democrats would hope it would have?
Yes. Well, that was the end of the show tonight when I was talking about the Stormy Daniels issue. I mean, it's always going to strike people as sex. When it's about getting a guy for sex, I don't think they should have discouraged. I guess Alvin Bragg can do what he wants. But if I was the president or somebody, I would have discouraged him quietly. Let's not do this one. Because we're going to see Trump hauled into court, as we did, and that's going to be the big story, and it's going to be just high fives on MSNBC. And look, I was thrilled. There's something cathartic about seeing that because this guy has done so much damage to this country as well as so many individuals. So to see him hauled into court feels good. But now when these real cases come up, the ones about asking for votes in Georgia, January 6th, even the documents one, I mean, I just think the power of it is going to be diminished.
Can he win again?
He can. I don't think he will. But it doesn't matter with him. This is the point I've been making since 2016.
Well, you predicted me.
I did.
You said every year. I watched you and you'd say year after year.
Almost every show.
He won't accept it.
He will never accept it.
And he didn't.
And the problem with next time is he's done this once and he saw what didn't work the first time. He has been working behind the scenes to make sure that doesn't happen again. In other words, next time he calls up a Republican Secretary of State and says, I need you to find 11,000 votes. Is that Republican Secretary of State going to be somebody who's there who wasn't in 2016, who is there specifically to do that? So, you know, I don't know what's going to happen in 2024. My prediction would be it's Biden against him again, Biden wins again, and he doesn't accept it again.
Is it, I have to ask about Biden, because I've heard you defend him about his record in the term. I think it's been actually better than people think, which is why he did better in the midterms than people expected. But he's really showing his age. It's 2 more years before an election. If he then does 4 more, he'd be 86.
Well, you know,
does that matter?
It doesn't matter to me. I feel like this is a prejudice that this country has. This ageism, it's an individual thing, age. Some people are old at 50. And some people are young at 90. Norman Lear's over 100. I had dinner with him recently with other people. He was as sharp as anybody at the table. So it doesn't matter. And a president doesn't have to be super energetic. To run for president takes a lot of energy. To be president, you're the elder. Every civilization seems to have understood this. The elder. We go to you for advice and wisdom. Hey, elder one who has seen it all.
Well, Biden said that.
What should we do about this problem? And then he has his minions go out and you don't have to be. And also, I just think it's a narrative that, oh, he looks old. He looks like the same guy I've ever seen. He's a little older, so he fell off his bike. Can you imagine Trump's fat ass even being on a bike? Really?
Biden did say in Ireland an interesting thing, actually. He said that, yes, he's got more experience than anyone that's ever become president. And he said, but that gives me no excuses. Gives him the wisdom, but also no excuses. I thought that was quite an honest appraisal of what all that experience gives him.
Yeah, I just think people have, look, do I love everything Biden has done? No, I don't. I think he caves into that super left side a little too much. I think they go to him with that stuff and he goes, I don't understand it. I can't be bothered with it. I have real matters to do. If you want to do this, fine. I'm not going to fight you on it. And, you know, is it as existentially threatening as what Trump is threatening? Of course not. So, but generally he's doing fine. And he's got a lot more done substantially, legislatively. I mean, he got us out of Afghanistan, which, yeah, did he stick the landing on it? No. But a lot of that was because Trump organized that before he even got there with his stupid we'll get out by this date, and he only left 2,500 troops there. He left them a horrible hand. So it's not a terrible idea to say that. And of course the Democrats never do because they're just so afraid, oh, they'll just say we're using excuses. It's a reasonable excuse. It's a real excuse. Having said that, they could have done it better, but at least we did it and we should have done it. And he actually got the ball rolling on climate change in a big way that nobody's been able to do before. He steered most of this big money we're spending towards stuff. They're all really climate change bills. And nobody did that, and he got infrastructure going, and you know, he's an old school kind of guy. Is he perfect? Of course not. But he's getting the job done, and we're back to normal. It's not insanity. He's not, you know, poop tweeting and having feuds with Bette Midler and, you know, throwing towels at people. I mean, it's a lot.
Who has been for you the greatest American president of them all?
Well, certainly the one I've seen in my lifetime, I mean, it would be Obama. I mean, I didn't see George Washington, but, you know, he's still the greatest in my view, because there would be no country without him, and he made some incredible decisions, like how he won the war, which most generals could not have won that war, saying he would not be a king, refusing the crown, and saying, no, we have to have a peaceful transfer of power.
I do think you giving up our king was a massive strategic error.
I'm sure you do.
Just for the record.
But Obama, you know, as far as modern presidents, and no one can compare. First of all, because what he did, he came in right at a moment of incredible economic crisis that a lot of other guys would have crashed. We'd be in a depression now. And, you know, no drama Obama. Boy, you know, he just kept his eye on the ball. And by the way, we didn't even lose money.
Does the American...
And the first black president.
Right, that was a very significant...
The hardest thing. I mean, I always said, he had to be the Jackie Robinson, and he was. Jackie Robinson in the sense of, you can't take the bait. They're going to say horrible things, you just got to keep your eye on the ball. Amazing discipline this guy has.
I agree with that. Does the American dream still exist, do you think?
Yeah. In fact, that's maybe the one thing that does exist that we still have going for us, because we've lost so much. But I talked about this all the time, especially with people who have come to this country on purpose, you know, and not from countries that are places you'd think where people would want to leave, like your country. People come here on purpose. I know people from France and Germany and Canada. And I think what they would say is, yes, America has a great flaw in that we don't take care of the losers quite as well as socialist countries. You know, if you fall behind, it's kind of like, well, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya. But what America does have is still the sense of possibility. You absolutely can reinvent yourself tomorrow and be whatever you want. You can make your future here. You can make your way, and you can go as high as you can. They don't cut down the tall trees, as a Canadian friend of mine once said. So in that sense, there is still the American dream. Now, how available is that to everybody? That's a good question.
Well, Uncensored next tonight, Bill Maher's, well, his pretty tough verdict on that gruesome twosome, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex.
Britain's conversation. Oh no. With the People's Channel. No, what did I use? Every little helps. For God's sake, is nothing original anymore. It's finger licking good. I'm loving it. Look, let's be honest. We don't have any fancy speechwriters here, but we do, and I promise you, discuss the issues that matter to you. Yes, I'm back. Talk TV, not with Morgan, just before him. Monday to Thursday at 7 p.m. Join me. Just do it. Well, that one too.
Passionate and always straight to the point. World-class broadcaster Vanessa Feltz is on Talk TV every night of the week. From politics to pop culture, there's no subject she shies away from. And remember,
if you're thinking about it, we're talking about it.
Join Vanessa Feltz on Talk TV every day from 4 p.m. He's back, and he's uncensored. Debating the breaking news and talking to the biggest names. Piers Morgan is live every week with a host of stars. Uncompromising, unmissable, and uncensored. And remember,
if you're thinking it, we're talking about it.
Piers Morgan, Uncensored, Monday to Thursday at 8 p.m. on Talk TV.
Well, coming up from our brand new studio on The Talk, Harry and William set to give each other the cold shoulder at the coronation. Rishi Sunak's investigated over his wife's shares in a childcare agency that could benefit from the budget. And the Brecon Beacons is renamed in response to climate change. Peak woke or what? That's at 9.
Well, welcome back. Next tonight, Bill Maher's made no secret of his disdain for the concept of monarchy. But will he be watching the coronation? And what do Americans really make of the Harry and Meghan circus? The coronation is coming up, and I know you're probably trying to suppress your wild excitement.
Okay.
Will you be watching?
No. Of course not. It's not my country, and it's
stupid. Do you care about the royal family?
Of course not. It's an anachronism, and it's... I said this to people who are royals to their face. I'm not going to call you Your Highness.
Really? Who did you say that to?
I said that to Queen Noor.
Really?
Absolutely. I said it's ridiculous that one human being, this is something liberals especially should believe, that you don't call another human being Your Highness? Are you kidding me?
Come on, Bill, try it.
No. And, you know, although I do, personally, I like Charles. I always thought he was a smart guy. He had some really good issues. You know, I thought they made fun of him. You know, he gave him some ammunition for that, but no public person doesn't. But, you know, why even have this? And I know there are reasons. Enjoy it, whatever.
Have you been hanging out with Meghan and Harry since they've been in California?
No, I don't know them.
What do you think of them?
I admire Harry for going to Afghanistan. Anybody who's had military service, I can only criticize so much because I haven't. And there's nothing that compares to military service. But they're ridiculous after that. They want it both ways. You know, you can't be, these people were so mean to us and poor us, and we don't want all this attention, and then let me write a book about how much we don't want attention.
I thought South Park did. We want our privacy.
I mean,
that sums it up, really.
They just strike me as creatures of that generation. You know, you're just fragile. You know, just take a hint from the Queen, the recently departed.
Never complain, never explain, and rarely be heard speaking in public.
You're complaining about your hard life, and you're so privileged. It's just so weird.
It's ridiculous. I totally agree. Bill, you've had an extraordinary life. How long do you think you can keep doing this? Decades?
Forever.
Do you think you'll ever want to stop?
I have a contract for 1 billion years, like in Scientology. Piers.
I would watch you for it, as long as you want to do it. But
I don't know. I mean, the fact that I've done it for 30 years is just ridiculous. But I feel in no way diminished.
You enjoy it as much as you've ever done?
More. Because, you know, you get better at what, if you do something for 30 years, I mean, you better get better. You know, at a certain point, you know, same thing with Biden, you know, yes, age could actually have an effect on how you're doing. But that's, I would be the first one to tell you if it did. And plainly, it's not.
Well, I watch you every week, and I have to say, I think right now you are probably the most important host on American television because you are the voice of common sense amid all the insanity. And also, basically, you're on their side, the loons. It's like, come on, stop being so mad.
No, I think you're a great voice, too, and also of common sense. And there's lots of us. And by the way, none of us are what anyone 10 years ago would even begin to call a conservative.
No.
You know, we're not conservatives. I mean, you go down the line about what we believe and how we live our life. We're not out there shooting Bud Lights. And I will not bend the knee and just go along with the nonsense. That's what's so annoying about them. The most of all, they insist that you go along with their nonsense and their insanity and their fragility, or else you're thrown outside the group and you're excommunicated from liberal. No, you're not the liberal. I haven't changed. Yes. You invented a whole new thing called wokeism, which used to have a much more valid meaning.
It's actually a form of fascism. The way they go about it, the way they, without the extreme violence, but the ideology that you will conform to our narrow world view, and if you don't, we're going to really do bad stuff to you.
Yeah,
that's a fascist mentality.
It's the cry bullies of that generation, as I said, raised wrong. So they think when someone disagrees with them, it's a hate crime, and it's violence, and it's unacceptable, and it's just got to stop. You know, get your teenagers under control.
Yeah, I completely
That's
agree.
my message.
Bill, it's a great message.
Pleasure.
Keep battling. Okay. I'm with you.
Thank
I'm with
you.
you on the hill.
All right.
What a fantastic interview, and what a refreshing attitude, wasn't it? Just don't tolerate the woke insanity. They can be mad. We've seen examples on the show tonight of utter madness. Teachers being made to apologise to kids who don't want to be called girls at a girls' school. That's mad. Fat people wanting free seats on planes. That's mad. And it's all fragile. It's all pathetic. It's all attention-seeking. And we don't have to go along with it. Stand up, world. Fight back. Just say no. Be more like Bill Maher. That's it from me. Good to be back in our wonderful new studio. Whatever you're doing, keep it uncensored and keep the wokies away. Good night.
Britain's conversation. Oh no. With the People's Channel. No, what do you use? Every little helps. For God's sake, is nothing original anymore. It's finger-licking good. I'm loving it. Look, let's be honest. We don't have any fancy speechwriters here, but we do, and I promise you, discuss the issues that matter to you. Yes, I'm back. Talk TV, not with Morgan, just before him. Monday to Thursday at 7 p.m. Join me. Just do it. Well, that one too.
Passionate and always straight to the point. World-class broadcaster Vanessa Feltz is on Talk TV every night of the week. From politics to pop culture, there's no subject she shies away from. And remember,
if you're thinking about it, we're talking about it.